It's that time again. Midnight. Static from the radio cuts out and the voice you've been waiting to hear cuts in. It is I, the jaundiced narrator, and you are now listening to the midnight broadcast of Sinister Words. Addiction is a powerful thing. It can take hold of us and make us do things we never thought we were capable of. It can make us lose ourselves in something, to the point where we forget who we are and what's important to us. In tonight's macabre tale, one poor soul falls too deeply into obsession. Will they find their way out again? Only those who listen on will know the answer. Close your eyes, dear listener. Open your ears, and learn the fate of those who hear. Whispers from the Atari Gophers. As a big fan of retro games, I often enjoyed searching for hidden gems in thrift stores and yard sales. One day, I stumbled upon a dusty old copy of Gopher for the Atari 2600 at a yard sale. Intrigued by the game's obscurity, I decided to give it a try. As I played the game, I was immediately struck by how basic the graphics were. But as I progressed, I began to hear faint whispers in the background that grew louder with each passing level. They seemed to be coming from the game itself, as if the Gophers were trying to communicate with me through the TV screen. The whispers continued to grow louder, making it hard to focus on the gameplay. They were barely audible at first, like the soft rustling of leaves, but gradually they became more distinct, like a chorus of tiny voices. The whispers were always in the background, just beyond my conscious awareness, but somehow they managed to seep into my subconscious. At first, I tried to ignore the whispers, chalking them up to my imagination, or maybe some odd sound coming from the TV. But as I progressed through the levels, I began to notice that something was off. The Gophers, which had once been cute and harmless, now seemed to be staring at me with malevolent intent. Their beady eyes followed my every move, and their expressions seemed to be growing more and more twisted with each passing level. The game was slowly starting to creep me out, and yet I found myself unable to stop playing. It was like a strange compulsion had taken hold of me, urging me to keep going, despite the growing unease in the pit of my stomach. The whispers only made it worse, like 1,000 little hands reaching out from the TV screen and pulling me in. Looking back, I realized how foolish I was to keep playing, to keep feeding the growing sense of dread that the game was instilling in me. But at the time, I was too caught up in the game's addictive mechanics to think clearly, and little did I know that things were only going to get worse from there. Eventually, the whispers became too unsettling for me to bear, so I locked myself in my bedroom and hid from the TV. But even then, the whispers found their way into my ears and into my brain. A seed of an idea was planted there, that the only way to be rid of the whispers was to give the game to another. So I did. God help me, I gave the game to my friend Alex. I didn't mention anything about the whispers, as I didn't want to scare him off from playing the game. Within a day of giving the game to Alex, the whispers vanished like a fart in a breeze. A week later, Alex called and told me that he had been playing Gopher non-stop since I gave it to him. He said that it was addictive and that he couldn't put it down. But he also mentioned that he'd started experiencing strange phenomenon around his home. He never went into detail about what they were. I didn't ask him if he heard any whispering. Then one day, Alex called me over to show me something strange. He had paused the game and showed me the screen. The Gophers, once cute and harmless, now had sinister and twisted expressions on their faces. They were no longer cute little animals, but grotesque and frightening creatures that seemed to be staring directly into our souls. We both felt a chill run down our spines, and Alex quickly shut off the game. He took the cartridge and smashed it with a hammer. That's the last time I remember Alex as he was. The next day, Alex didn't answer his phone. I wanted to check on him and see if he was still experiencing any strange phenomenon from owning the game, or if destroying it had lifted the weird spell it had over whoever owned it. I drove over to Alex's place, and that's where I found him. His living room had been filled with pillows and blankets, and he had burrowed little tunnels out of them. Alex was hiding in the pillow tunnels, chittering like some sort of animal and gnawing on the side of a carrot. He was completely unresponsive to me, crawling away on his hands and knees and squeaking if I got too close. I had to call emergency services. Alex nipped and clawed at the medical technicians who showed up, so animal control was eventually brought in. He was cornered and caught with a big net, tranquilized, strapped to a gurney, and carted away. I still remember the vacant, animalistic, glassy look in his eyes as he drooled in the ambulance. His parents had him institutionalized, and I never got to see him again. Everyone assumed it was drugs, but I knew the truth. It was the Gophers. I felt guilty ever since for giving him the game, knowing the whispers and the twisted Gophers drove Alex mad. I learned a valuable lesson about the power of video games and the importance of moderation. I hope that Alex gets the help he needs to overcome his condition, and that he can one day return to a happy, healthy life. For now, if I'm ever at a yard sale and I see an old Atari game, I steer clear. The story you have just heard is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual people or events is purely coincidental. There have been no documented cases of individuals hearing voices while playing the 1982 Atari game Gopher. But just between you and me, dear listener, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Don't let your passions consume you, whether they be crocheting, video games, or murder, lest your pastimes become pastimes and your now times become spent in a padded room. Thank you for listening to Whispers from the Atari Gophers. This has been another midnight broadcast of Sinister Words. Game on.